Welcome to Season 8 of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast with Adina, Brian, Cris, and Steve. The biggest sci-fi podcast in the galaxy. We love talking all things science fiction, from film, television, and literature. Join our crew and find a seat quickly, because we're blasting into a universe filled with adventure and fun. All hailing frequencies are open for this week's episode of The Big Sci-Fi Podcast.
In my day, I used to get 2 movies and the cost was only 50 cents.
Which is what some old codger might have complained about with regards to one of the 2 films we are discussing today on the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. Yes, there was a time when you could see 2 movies at the same showing. Often one was the big release and the other was considered the B film. Today on the Big Sci-Fi Podcast, we are going to do just that. Yet, it will also be a comparison of these 2 different yet very similar films. They are, from 1958, we have the B movie, It, the Thing from Beyond Space. And from 1979, we have Alien, which is our A movie. What is the difference, yet similar, in each of these movies that are more than 21 years apart? Each film dealt with a vicious alien creature that was hell-bent on killing everyone that they encountered. Yet, how each film went about it says a lot more of the time the films were made than anything else. Now, the last time we did a double feature, we compared Robinson Crusoe on Mars and The Martian. And if you want to give it a re-listen, it's our 7th episode from Season 3, released on January the 20th, 2023. So long ago. However, I'm getting ahead of myself, and before we begin, let's introduce the members of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast team. They are Adina.
Hello, everybody.
Our good friend Brian.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
And our good brother from up north, Cris.
Hey, everyone.
And I'm Steve, who is just 2 years older than it, which means I'm very old. Anyway, so with that, without much more fanfare, let's consider these 2 creature feature movies. Now, I'm sure everyone has seen Alien at one time. But yet, when was that? And did you see it in the theater? Did you know that the version that I watched this week on Prime was a director's cut? And if you did you notice any differences? Or was this the first time you're seeing Alien? I don't know. Tell me.
Well, I was a little too young to see Alien in the theater. I was 5.
Okay.
Yes, definitely too young.
Little too young. I'm not exactly sure when I saw it, but I think I saw Aliens first.
Okay.
I think I saw it also not in the theater. I saw it rented at home on VHS, and then went back and rented Alien. I'm 10, 11, 12-ish age.
Okay.
Maybe. So a long time ago. It's been a while.
Right. Yeah.
And I definitely didn't see them in the order that they appeared.
I saw Alien a long time ago. It was probably 4-ish hours ago. I watched it for the very first time. Watched it this afternoon with my Google Pods on my cell phone, as I worked on my day job a little bit, but I didn't get much work done while watching it, let's just say.
Yeah, it is compelling.
So I have some thoughts. I was surprised several times and intrigued.
Okay.
And liked it a lot more than I expected I would. And as far as it goes, too, I have known of this movie for a long time. And what's the official title? It's not just It, because we don't want to confuse it with the horror films with the clowns.
Yeah.
I actually made a mistake. It's It, the Terror from Beyond Space. I actually said Thing the last time, and that was wrong. But It, the Terror, which, again, in B-movie idiom in the 1958 era, you went with a big splashy name to get people into the theater.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So first time seeing this film too, but I've had an awareness of this film for most of my life. I just don't recall ever seeing it before.
Okay.
You said this was the first time you saw Alien. What about Aliens or the other movies in the franchise? Have you seen
I
those?
haven't paid attention to any of the franchise
Okay.
of Aliens at all.
Interesting. Okay.
This is my first splash into the.
Wow. Okay. And Chris?
I am the same way. I'm embarrassed to say. This is my first time watching Alien, purely because I have been way too afraid to watch it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not a horror guy. It's cool. It's space, but it's a lot of jump scares. So I have not seen it before. I've seen like bits and pieces of it, and obviously it's been parodied so much, so I feel like I knew about it. But yeah, this is my first time, and let me just say, I watched it, and as soon as I finished it, I put on Aliens because I was like, I need more of this. I'm now kind of obsessed, and I'm just like, man, I have to talk about this movie. And the Terror from Beyond Space, I've not seen before, and I was watching that today. That's a much easier movie to like watch and do other stuff with, I think.
Yes,
whereas Alien,
definitely.
I was like fully invested.
Yep.
And I was watching it on the train, on the bus, and then on the train again. But then I was really self-conscious about watching it on the train because I got to a particularly graphic scene, and I was like, you know what, let me try and hold off. I don't want to freak people out who happen to glance at my phone.
Yes.
As we're commuting into work.
What's this creature with two sets of teeth? I mean, really, come on.
The creature, let me just say, the creature was fine, like kind of creepy, but it was the alien. It was the Ash the android getting killed. Where I was like,
yes.
Yeah.
That was freaky.
The decapitation.
I don't think that's any
nightmares.
more gruesome than more modern things.
Yeah.
The Ash getting killed?
Yeah.
I just found like it was the sound he was making and the white stuff coming out. I don't know. I always just find, generally speaking,
that was
stuff in the 70s and 80s, there's something about like the practical effects they use that just feels more gruesome and more like gets me going. Like I'm like, okay, I need to maybe turn down the volume or something because it's intense.
Adina, do you watched also The Terror from Beyond Space as well? And this was probably your first time seeing that one as well?
Yeah, it was my first time seeing it. I was, again, I would say vaguely aware of it before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can imagine Chris on the bus watching this or on the train and a little girl sitting next to her mom going, Mom, why does the man keep jumping every now and then?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah.
There's actually one of the things I loved is like just being on the bus. I'm like, this is a perfect time because if it does get too intense, I can either turn down the volume or I can like turn off the noise canceling so I can hear the bus sounds. And there was only a couple of points where I had to do it where I'm like, I feel like a jump scare is coming up, so let me just turn that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, just such a fun time.
I will tell you that I saw The Terror from Beyond Space. It was, I don't know how old I was. It was one of those creature feature shows that was on one of the local channels they would run. So that's when I saw it the first time. So to me, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
In the early 60s to watch it. But then I always remember I watched it. There was a creature feature show out here called Seymour. Larry Vincent was the promoter of this. This is prior to Elvira doing the same type of shtick. And I remember him just saying, yes, and what about the rubber rifles in the movie? And the scene where the alien is bending a solid wood rifle, which made me laugh and always took the edge off of those types of things. And as for Alien, I saw that first run in the theater. Not only did I scream like a little girl when Dallas is attacked in the air passage, but the guy behind me also screamed like a little girl in the theater. And the people we were with, which were women, laughed at us both.
Yeah.
So I always thought that it's like, does this scene affect men more than women? Because it sure scared the bejeebers out of me. It was a great boo.
Yeah.
There's another movie that I saw in the theater that scared the living daylights. I mean, I had several moments like that. and it was Legally Blonde. That film was so scary. I
Gosh.
just like several times like, what am
I
I doing
love
here?
that movie so much.
I saw Us. That was a creepy movie. That was a scary movie.
Yeah.
Not a comedy, but
My wife loves Legally Blonde too, Adina.
I
It's a
figured
great
it was something.
movie.
It's not.
It is a
I'm
great
kidding.
movie.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I feel like I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a long, long time.
So again, you're looking at two different films, but both films had the same concept, which is alien creature gets on board spaceship, crew is systematically taken out one at a time until they finally are able to defeat the alien. Now, did you find any similarities in the films that when you're watching, besides, I think what I wrote down, besides the fact that everyone smoked on board,
Yeah.
drank
Yes.
coffee on board, ate normal food on board. I mean, really.
And they fired their guns a lot in both of the movies, which I'm like, with Terror Beyond, with Terror, I was like, is that even safe? Like, I feel like it's just not a good idea to be shooting a gun off of.
Okay,
on a spacecraft.
with terror,
Even
with it, like
Yeah.
I feel like that one I can give that a little bit more leeway, given human. It was like pre-human spaceflight, several years before human spaceflight. So that one I'm willing to give a little bit of leeway. But now when you've got, Alien in the late 70s, while we haven't had a lot of human spaceflight, I feel like there's been enough that they should have known would have appreciated a few more realistic aspects to it.
I will say, like watching, like I'm only halfway through Aliens, and I appreciated the one scene where Ripley was like, "Hey guys, don't be firing our guns off here because it's gonna blow up some coolant tank." And I'm like, "It's not a spaceship," but still, it's like at least they're understanding it because they were just like blasting their guns willy nilly.
In Alien, remember, they didn't shoot any guns. It was flamethrowers.
I thought they were going to shoot or something.
Flamethrower and also a cattle prod with a sparker, at the end.
Right.
Yeah. So they did take in consideration they were in a spacecraft, but nobody took a bazooka like in it and fired it inside a spaceship. So, I mean, yes.
Pretty thick metal. On the outside.
Again, if you ever seen a 58 Buick, they're basically all steel, so they're indestructible.
And that's what I have to say. I love the fact that it was like 58, but it wasn't like the far future. It was 1973 when it took place. I'm like, okay, the technology seems way too advanced, but also less advanced. It was interesting.
Yeah. I really love that Alien did not do the whole mushy love story interest type thing like the first movie, which I was not surprised to see it in it, The Terror from Beyond, because I that's what they did a lot.
Yeah.
They had to have that kind of thing. So, but I found it particularly pathetic in it. Like it bothered me more. I wasn't surprised, but I'm like, oh man, they really didn't need that at all.
It was unnecessary. I mean,
totally.
And again, I get it that it's a movie that was a product of its time. So I'll be honest, I had a hard time watching it. I'm hit or miss on old movies. I really, really am hit or miss on old movies. And for me, this one, and it could be sometimes just the mood I'm in that day, I guess.
Sure.
But this one, it was a miss for me because I feel like I'm in a mood this week where the misogyny of that time was, I just didn't want to see it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, the opening scene, the women are serving the men coffee and clearing their plates.
Yes.
Now, they're also medical officers, right? Which you find out. But so then why can't these guys get their own gosh darn coffee?
And then what was the line? It's like, "Will we own you?" or something. That was a weird line.
I don't know what line you're talking about. I'm probably glad that I must have missed it because, so I was really, like I said, I know that it's a product of its time. I know that, but this was one. It was unnecessary. Again, not only that was unnecessary, but if you're making these characters like scientists, which they clearly were, They said it. The one woman, she's like, I decided after I was divorced that I'm going to devote myself to science. Well, then why are you serving these guys coffee? Like,
I didn't realize until one of the characters was like, "Oh, I'm like I just did the autopsy." I'm like, "Wait, you guys, you were a science?" I thought they were just like cooks because like that's all they had done was just serve food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I'm like, okay, it's 58.
And
it's
even
hard.
Yeah, even their outfits were like, why didn't they have the same kind of uniform as the men too? I mean, their outfits even look kind of nursey, stewardessy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
their outfits didn't bother me too much.
They bothered me,
They didn't bother me too much because they were still modest. They weren't deliberately trying to show off curves, so that's why it didn't bother me that they were different because at the end of the day, women's bodies and men's bodies are different. Right. So, but the fact that they were modest, they were not showing off, things. So their outfits did not bother me, and that's actually interesting that they made that choice to put them in modest outfits and not like enhance or show off.
Right. Which was very popular at that time with films like Queen of Outer Space. And, they always show they land on Venus and the women are already, they're buxom and they're wearing basically swimsuits, and
So it's like this movie could have almost been very progressive. Like if you had cut out just the part of them serving the men, like if you cut that out and if they were doing that like equally, like doing their own coffee, doing their own plates and dishes, then this could have been an amazingly progressive film.
Right. But it wasn't because it was also made on, it was the B movie also. So really you wanted to get to the monster. The monster was the biggest thing about it and how they fought them. I mean, even again, if you look at the two different films, the spacesuits in Alien, they looked the part that they wore. Whereas in this film, they look like the spacesuits were very flimsy.
I was
predated real space flight.
Correct.
So I'm not that also didn't bother me so much is because they didn't necessarily have a model to go off of.
I just wanted to hear it click. Like something that said that the helmet was secure.
But that wasn't the case. Click. It wasn't, and it was just kind of fitted on, and it was soft material and so on. And that's only because okay.
You've got you've had like 60 years of real human space flight,
right?
To expect that.
Right.
This was this was before. This is before.
Which is understandable.
You know what it did really well though was describing like the intensity of like them having to go outside the ship, which actually wasn't too bad special effects wise for the time. The guys doing the spacewalk on the ship to get down to the lower level. But like I bought into the whole, they don't know what to do. This thing is indestructible. And that I bought that about the film. In all of its kind of cheese and everything, glorious cheesiness.
Yes, indeed.
For us watching it.
I mean, come on, how many people keep loose 55-gallon drums stored in a spaceship? Again, but again, there, as you say, Adina, no knowledge of spaceflight. You could do anything you want. It seemed appropriate, and we accept it in 1958 because this is what we're being told. I mean, at least they did mention to some degree that Mars had a weak, if not non-existent atmosphere, and that's why the creature had large lungs and so on. So they did mention here or there a little bit of factuality of what was known at that particular time.
Which was not a lot. This also predated by a decade any Mars missions.
Right.
Like, there were Mars flybys. I think there were several failed Mars flybys. By the Soviets in the early 60s. I think the first successful flyby was in the mid 60s. It was a U.S. mission. It was one of the Mariner missions in the
Yes, exactly right. The Mariner.
But,
definitely.
And again, landing on Mars didn't still happen till the early 1970s.
Right,
so,
exactly.
they're predating a lot of information that we then eventually had.
Sure. And again, if even the opening sequence where you show the spaceship, the crashed spaceship and the other spaceship on the Mars landscape, but I believe that also was a landscape that was used for the surface of the moon in other films as well. So it looked more lunar than, but again, this is conceptual drawings and no way of knowing if it's right or not until, as you said, until decent photos were returned back on Mars. So, again, those are the things that we now understand to be inaccurate because of the time. And that's why I kept saying, think of this movie, it's 1958, it's 2024 or 25 when we're watching it now.
Yeah. I also have to say, the thing I liked the most about the movie was the setup, where I thought it was going to be like they crash, they land on Mars and then all the stuff happens, but it's like, no, he's being rescued, but now there's a court martial where they're all like, hey, you killed your crew. And I thought, okay, I was like, how are they going to prove his innocence? And I thought it was going to be they get back to Earth and then he tells the story of what happened. For whatever reason, I didn't think it was going to be the creature attacking all the new crew and then being like, oh, okay, now we understand. You weren't just making stuff up. That was all real.
I thought it was I don't know. And again, this just might be a sign of the times, just the way all the acting and all that stuff in that first, sort of setup stuff just felt weird to me. Like how they're interacting with this guy that they think
is a killer.
Like if you think the dude's really a killer and you're kind of arresting him, why are you not essentially putting him in a brig?
Yeah, and he's just hanging out. He's drinking coffee, playing chess, all that stuff.
And he doesn't seem quite like as traumatized as I would assume he'd be. It was weird.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. That's the only word I have for it right now.
Yeah, whereas Ripley and all of them, like all the people in Alien, did a really good job of showing the trauma of the situation.
Yeah.
And just the general exhaustion of, hey, we're just ready to get home. Like, let's just get some good food, get home, and we're done with the mission.
Yeah, but it was a different kind of mission because like these people are quote unquote more fresh and they're not coming off of a mine, and these folks are essentially military. Where Ripley and her crew, they're commercial, they're miners, and they're just in it
which
for
is why
like
they
this
keep
is our
arguing
money.
over who's going to get
Their
how
bonus.
much of a share and stuff. Yes,
And
then refusing to work if they're not going to get what they want to get paid, and the disagreements with all that.
And by the way, I love the there have been the memes have gone around this for several years. The whole like people didn't listen to Ripley.
Yeah, they didn't listen to her at all.
Yeah,
which is interesting because when I saw the film in the theater, the presumption was Dallas was the star of the film, that he was the main character, that he is the guy that's going to survive to the end. And then when he gets killed or he gets taken by the alien in the air passage, you go, wait a minute, then who's the star of this film? And it turns out to being the person that it should have been, which is Ripley.
Well, which is interesting because going into it, not having seen it, like obviously I wasn't alive when it came out, but seeing it now, it's like, of course one thing I've like heard of Ripley a lot, but it's also Sigourney Weaver. You don't cast her in a movie, not have her be a lead. So like I did not, so watching it, I didn't get that only because I'd seen so much about it beforehand. But that's interesting.
Yeah, you didn't get the surprise
from the first
that I
time
had.
where you're like, it's not Dallas who's the lead of the movie.
Well, and again, and knowing that still, it was kind of neat how like the first 20 minutes or so of the movie, she's 20, 30 minutes, she's a background character essentially.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of how they did that and built up to nope, she's the main character was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, you
guys,
guys,
again, she was, but when you say about like, oh, you don't cast her as that, I think this was the movie that propelled her.
This is probably the movie.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are all incorrect about the main characters and who that was supposed to be because it is quite obvious that the main character of this film is its music composer, Jerry Goldsmith. You all just missed it completely. No, but I digress.
No, actually, you brought up a good point.
Phenomenal. Like so unnerving.
Well,
unnerving.
Here's the thing. When I saw the film, the music in that, again, going back to it, the music there was very 50s style, dun 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 kind of music. Whereas in Alien, it really added to the terror that you felt. And he did a great job. I mean, really, of heightening the actions that were seen. I did mention that when the scene at the end where the alien is ejected and stalked out of space, and there's a piece of music that's played, which is very uplifting piece of music. And I just always loved it until, I'd say, one day I'm driving home, listening to the classical radio station, and I'm going, wait a minute, that's the music from Alien. But I missed who the composer was. And then sometime later I heard it again, and I caught the composer being Howard Hanson. This is from 1930.
That's the piece they used for
that piece of music that they used.
I'll be interesting.
Bum 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 ba da da. It always just seems so beautiful, and turns out they did use music from other pieces in the film as well. But Jerry Goldsmith, as always, his music
doesn't fail.
No, totally. And I am convinced, based on this film, more than ever before, that Jerry Goldsmith is a master of exterior shots of spaceships flying when it comes to music. He did it so beautifully and perfectly in the motion picture. I mean, without that music, the motion picture, nobody watches it.
I don't think so.
Without the music. I mean, as great as the effects are, as beautiful as that film is visually, without the incredible music of Jerry Goldsmith, no one watches that film today. And he brought that same music. The same thing is true for Star Trek V. Star Trek V, the music in that movie is a major reason why people watch it. Without the music, nobody watches Star Trek V, in my humble opinion. And then, of course, he scored all the next-gen films. But all of his exterior, Jerry Goldsmith is just a master of moving parts and weaving his melodies in and out of all of his musical scores. You hear same themes in different ways beautifully. And I'm telling you, why I think the music is so good in this film is it is a stunning film, is terrifying in different ways, but as you're watching the film, you're not really all the way recognizing that the music is driving the emotion of the moment just as much as that great acting on screen by these wonderful actors. And the special effects, the cinematography is fantastic in this film. The sets on this thing
I love the sets.
are phenomenal. And so, but Jerry Goldsmith was just a master. You don't realize how much his music is affecting you.
I could tell right away. I was like, okay, let me chill a little bit, because even the opening theme was unnerving, and even just seeing the ship before they wake up out of hypersleep was unnerving. I was like, okay, this is a lot. I need to
related to
watch
that,
it in chunks.
I recently saw a live concert of John Williams music, and as part of that, one of the things that they did was they showed you a piece of Jaws without the music,
right?
And then they played it with the music, just to kind of emphasize that point of how music really does make some of the scenes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Another subject is the level of gore or terror in each film. Now, of course, the monster in it is formed. It's there. It's alive. It doesn't go through any gestation of creation. It's just there. And from that time, the level of violence that they can show in those films was relatively mild. But the thing I notice about watching Alien again and watching it compared to this film is that Alien itself is violent, but not overly graphic. Like, you don't see the inner teeth going into the chest of somebody. The most graphic scene is, of course, the birth of the alien creature from John Hurt. But other than that, the level of violence is almost like it's in your mind. When Dallas is taken captive by the alien, Um, it's just a boo scene, and there's a lot of those boo scenes in it, and that's what to me is what makes Alien so very good. Is that it almost like you yourself are adding to the tension by the scenes you're watching, and not just because we've seen enough movies that, or hopefully, that are much more graphic and more violent than this film, and even the subsequent other Alien films as well.
I do not like gratuitous hardly anything. You know what I mean? Like, I think there has to be a lot, and I'm not a horror film guy at all. This is as horror as I get is Alien, and I guess maybe this film is classified in that genre.
Yeah,
partly at least,
like
but
Disney
a science fiction horror film.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly right.
But for me, like I think that the graphicness of what we saw, the acid, the blood, the even the robot coming apart and exploding, like Cris said, that was pretty gory. But it told the story too. It wasn't just to shock us.
It wasn't just to shock us,
and it did terrify you. I mean, it was terrifying, but it wasn't. I would not call it gratuitous in this film.
Yeah,
I think it was part of the story, and
I'd agree.
Yeah, and I agree with you as well. And now, one of the things about Alien that has always bothered me is the gestation of the creature. It starts off as something, 8, maybe 6 inches in size, but grows to this gigantic creature. And the only metamorphosis that show is when Harry Dean Stanton's character finds like skin, as though it was a snake. As it grew bigger, it shed its original skin. But it seemed like it happened too quickly, that the development of it, that you never saw it, smaller, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There it was, this monster. And it just seemed to me a little exaggeration in the evolution of it, that it should have maybe taken longer or something. But that's just
I wasn't bothered by it, just because I feel like we've seen so many shows and movies where the aliens or whatever the creature is, they grow really fast. Like, I think we're going to bring up DS9, the Jem'Hadar are hatched, and they're like, I think fully grown within like a couple of days or something. So I feel like, okay, I could buy that.
Again, that's a minor thing. That's just a minor thing, but it's just one of the little things that always made me think about that, how quickly they evolved. But to me, again, the most frightening is, of course, the face hugger, which I've seen this movie many, many times, but I finally really looked at the most mysterious character in the film, which is the space jockey that they find inside the alien spacecraft. He actually did have the face hugger on him.
I couldn't tell, because that was one part I didn't really remember about the film, was them finding that like large alien skeleton. I'd completely forgotten about that. And that was that's the mystery, is like, wait, who are those people?
Right.
That's what I want to, that's what I want to know.
And that's when I would have said, like, I'd have been at the sight of that huge skeleton on that thing. I'd have been like tapping a combat saying, Scotty, beam me the heck out of here. Let's get out of this. Like, those guys kept going deeper and deeper into that ship. Like, come on.
You're asking for it, guy. I'm sorry, but
Well, no, I mean, like, to be fair, because given it was obviously dead for a while, I mean, they're really not expecting to find anything a lot, like they're really not.
And that's true. I mean, we are going, like, we're watching as Alien, where it's like, this
like,
is their,
we know what's going to happen to these people. Yes, we're watching this with we have the foresight knowledge, but without that, there is nothing scary, nothing to prevent them from going.
And they're also not hearing the score. Like, so there's that. There's no music. There's just like...
Right, there's no music to guide them.
This is their job. Yes. This is their 9 to 5. Now, obviously not 9 to 5. They probably work 12 hours a day. But this is their day job. They're like, well, we got to do this pit stop.
Yeah, there was no reason for them
and we'll
not to
be on our way.
I think NASA should start hiring musicians to go with them on all of their missions, especially the farther out, so that they'll know when they need to back the heck off.
Maybe we
and
need
say,
to,
hey,
like,
we got to
the
get back
music
to
is
this
kicking
ship and
in.
hightail it out of here.
Well, how will the
Yeah.
musicians know?
That's what their job is.
I mean, I didn't say it was a perfect plan, Adina. I just
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah.
I want to say this, Steve.
Go ahead.
I am so surprised by this film that how much I liked it. I have always doubted because I'm not a horror guy, so I kind of steer clear of films like that. I've always had a curiosity about why this film is such a classic and considered an all-time great sci-fi film. Now I get it.
Yeah, it
100%.
It's because Ripley saved the cat. That's why.
Jonesy causes so much trouble.
Yeah.
Jonesy.
I think Spot would be a better name for a cat, but okay.
And as a final statement, we were talking earlier about uniforms that, the women, were they overly or underdressed or whatever? Why did Ripley wear the underwear of a 8-year-old? I mean, it's like, I was like,
that was the one part where I'm like, this is a
little bothering.
I mean, talk about your tidy whities, but Ripley, that seems rather uncomfortable,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That really bothered me. That was clearly gratuitous.
Yeah, that was gratuitous.
Show her off a little bit. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I understand it should be comfortable or
no
in
comment.
Over here in
Northeast Ohio.
Can we talk about the tech a little bit before we go
right ahead. No, go
because
right
I
ahead.
love the technology. There's something, again, I found this with Blade Runner where there was something with the analog technology that I just found unsettling, and I don't know if that was intentional, but it just added to the atmosphere. And even like the idea that there was this program, like the computer was called Mother, and they'd have to go and talk to it. I loved it. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
But really unnerving.
Another thing about that, which is very interesting, is that the sound effects they use for the keyboards and interaction and shows like that, I hate to say it, but I go back to the movie Silent Running and the sound effects that Douglas Trumbull used for the computer interface that was happening, very reminiscent. So I don't know if I'm just, it's me, but the fact that they used something from a prior film for this, and because it was the right sound, they had the right sound of the keyboard being clicked and the data interface, or when they're first waking up and the images are flashing on the helmets inside the control room, and the chatter of the computer was really, it added to the film so much.
There was
like you said,
this unsettling noise when they would go into Mother, and then like the door would open, it would make a weird noise, and I like that. But it's interesting you bring up Silent Running, because I was like, this is making me think of that. Like, obviously two very different movies, but I had a similar vibe in that. There is some comparison. But yeah, just I liked their technology and how it made it feel like it was a living, breathing universe.
Yeah.
It also reminded me of Blade Runner, which I feel like there's a lot of fan theories that this is set in the same universe as Blade Runner, but only like a couple hundred years after.
Interesting.
And that the androids they use
that is interesting.
Aliens are like just super advanced versions of the replicants from Blade Runner. I don't know if that's true.
I've never heard that before.
I never, but
seen
it
that on
sure has.
like Reddit.
Huh.
I don't know. It just seems like it could have that tie-in. I mean, we'd have to see. Was there ever the company that appears not in this film, but ends up being the evil company that appears in Aliens? Was that in Blade Runner? That's,
I know Blade Runner is the Tyrell Corporation, but it could be like the Tyrell Corporation became whatever. I forget what the name of the company is, because we don't get that in the first one, but I googled it.
Yeah, certainly.
Went down the rabbit hole.
If I would say the creators of the films wanted to say that there was a tie, I feel like yes, they could make that happen
if they wanted to do that.
And even the shots, like not so much in terms of technology, but just the way they were filming it. It could just be because of that, like the way it was at that time. But like a lot of the shots of the cars flying in the city felt like the shots of the ship flying.
And once
that could
again,
just be because of the practical nature of it, maybe.
and rain. Even though rain was big in Blade Runner,
Yeah.
the scene where Harry Dean Stanton's character is killed by the alien, there's rain falling on him inside one processing center, which seems kind of strange that you would have water falling inside a spacecraft. But of course, it's a great look for the film.
Also,
Well,
just feel like in that
they were still on the planet, right? Weren't they?
They were still on the planet, I guess.
Yeah.
Were they?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but it just seemed odd to me that he would take a moment. Like, I'm sure it's just because they haven't felt water in a long time, like in that way.
Yeah.
But it just seemed odd when there's a creature coming at you, you're trying to find the cat, all this stuff is going down, and you're taking a moment to like experience the rain.
Yeah.
I
think it was just, again, it was, I think that's done just for effect, that he's looking up and the thing is above him and it comes down and gets him, you know?
Yeah.
There's
just
also
the, just the.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think
Hey,
it's somebody
Brian.
different.
Oh, I was going to say, like, for that, watching that scene in particular, that was such. Before the alien comes down, like, that was such a well done, well shot, well lit scene. Everything about that drove you to go, this dude ain't making it another 30 seconds.
No.
But like the whole rain thing or moisture thing coming down, like that was like that dude was, it was an intense thing happening. So for me, like it would almost seem natural to take a minute to experience that simple pleasure to try to relax and loosen up, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But it's at some point, guys, you gotta let the cat go. You know, put some cheese out and get it back to you. You know, put some cheese out and try to get it that way. Like
it's
that
hard.
Guy was wandering around a little too. And I say that I have owned cats. I have had cats as pets, and I'm a cat guy. I love cats. But at some point I'm going, let the cat go.
Nope.
I'm kind of it's so hard because it's like
it is awesome that she saved the cat.
I'm glad she saved the cat. I'm glad it worked out. But man,
I agree. I'm glad the cat was saved.
But I hear what you're saying though, Brian. It's just like, okay, there's an alien creature coming at you. You've already lost a number of your people.
Right.
Right.
The real question is, why is the cat on board to begin with?
Which is why you can't lose a cat. Well, because the cat takes care of the rats.
It's also too. It's just like they are miners, right? It's like it's their workship. It's like So I feel like that kind of makes sense. You're not they're not expecting any of this. They're just this is what they've been doing for I'm assuming a long time.
I'm bringing a cat when I go to space.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Data had a cat. Why can't they? Right? Yeah, he had a cat. Yeah, so you have to. It's especially when the cat hisses when Harry Dean Stanton's character is killed. The cat's like, don't. I'm warning you. You're gonna die in a moment. You know. Yeah, exactly.
That's what I love about cats. They just don't care. They're like, you know what? There's a big creature coming at me. I'm gonna hiss at them. I'm not running away. I'm hissing. I'm standing my ground. I respect that.
And it'll probably share some of the food with me.
I have a recent video where one of my neighbor's cats was at my door. So my cats are indoor cats. And this neighbor cat is like 3 times. So I have 2 cats. One is clearly smaller than the other. My neighbor's cat is clearly like 3 times the size of my smaller cat. My smaller cat was like launching herself at my screen door, my storm door, to try to take on this larger cat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's really funny because she doesn't come across as the alpha cat, but like my bigger cat was like hiding and terrified of like this neighbor cat.
I've heard they can mess up bears because they're used because bears are apparently used to people like other people or other creatures reacting, getting scared. But when cats don't back down, they're like, okay, this is a problem. I can't maybe mess with this person or with this cat. So I respect that. But it's like it was a lot of effort to save the cat. I'm glad it worked out.
I mean, like it's a cat. Like it's totally what I would have done.
Finally.
Look, if there's like a fire in my house, and once my kids are safe, I'm coming back for the cats.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't know. Isn't that how the father from This Is Us died?
Oh,
I didn't
man.
I
watch
should have bring
that.
that
Don't
up.
tell me
So I
Sorry.
don't
that.
know. I
It's a good
show.
Never saw the show. Okay,
I-
final thing: the way they defeated the alien in
Yeah.
both films. One used decompressing the spacecraft in it
Mm-hmm.
to kill it. That was the final way to get rid of it. In Alien, all the time they wanted to eject it out of the airlock. They kept saying, "We can get in the airlock. We're going to eject it." I read the book. I read the novelization
Oh.
of this. And there's actually a scene that was not filmed where they actually do get the alien into the airlock, but Ash releases it because he was under orders to keep the alien alive no matter what. So that's kind of interesting.
Might have been a tip off in the movie if he did two different things.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that might have
Yeah.
been maybe why it wasn't included in the film. But the fact that the creature goes into the shuttle, it's there. There's that one last moment for her to be able to get this thing and push it out into space through the airlock. So it finally, way to
Yeah,
kill
I
it.
like that sequence. And also just, 'cause I wasn't sure because I was like, I was doing something when she was dealing with the countdown. So I was like, did I miss something here? And I'm like, oh, I guess we're safe. And I really thought the movie was over. And it's like, oh no, it's not.
No. There's one more scene, one more bit.
Yeah.
So
One more
Movie
scene.
music trivia for you, Steve.
Sure,
and,
go ahead.
And Chris and Adina, you may know the answer to this too.
Mhm.
But first of all, Steve, what was the song Ripley was singing as she was putting on her spacesuit at the end? Do you remember it?
You are my lucky
Yeah, right, okay.
star.
Right?
Mhm.
What very famous musical was that song made famous in? And I can give you a couple hints if you don't
Wait,
know
what
it
was the
right off
song
the top
again?
of your head.
What was the song again?
You are my
it's
Long
lucky
Tall
star.
Sally.
You are my lucky star. That's what she
Sing it?
sang in the film at the end when she's nervously trying to get the alien to go towards the airlock.
So sing it though.
You
Sing the song.
are my lucky star. Is that good, Brian? Was that
I
okay?
Guys and
saw
Dolls?
you from
Oh.
afar.
Okay.
Good guess, but no, a little earlier.
Not a Star is Born.
Very famous.
West Side
Some
Story?
some call this the greatest musical of all time. It's debatable. I don't think it is, but some call it that. It's got one particular dancer in it.
Music
who
Man?
had an
Well-
umbrella
Music? No, not.
Oh,
was
are
that
you
Music
talking
Singing in
about
the
Singing
Rain.
in the Rain?
Oh.
singing in the rain.
Was that the
Lucky
name of the
Star.
musical? I thought that was the name of the song. Or was that
I
the
don't
name of the
know.
musical?
The greatest
No, it's
musical
a-
of all time is
yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar, and I will fight people for that.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
we'll
sorry.
arm wrestle at Trek Long Island, Adina.
No.
over that.
Willy Wonka and the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Best song
No.
ever. Best
Good
song.
distributor.
Once
ever.
again, I disagree, but
Yeah.
anyways, I do. Go ahead. I'm sorry. We're probably gonna have
Yeah.
final thoughts in a minute.
Yeah.
So
But no,
I don't want to jump.
Okay, so with that in mind, we are not going to do the Brian Donahue internationally famous 5-star
That's-
rating of these two
What?
films.
Oh, we're not.
What?
Okay.
Internationally.
What I
What?
would rather just leave, unless you want to, Adina, go right
No.
ahead. But as far as I'm concerned, these are two distinctly different films,
They
and
are.
also extremely similar films. So if you could easily give a 1 star or half a star to it because of the fact of it was from 1958 and so on and so forth, and it doesn't matter catch up or even the quality of what Alien was. But I would just rather go with your final thoughts about these two films and just leave it at that. And if you want to give it a star or a rating, I'm backing up, but you guys can do what you want.
It's up to us.
It's up to you. It's freedom of choice, to
Yay.
quote Dave Devo. So, Adina, if you want to go first, letter
Sure.
A, please do.
Okay, well, I guess I'll frame my thoughts as, do I think people should watch these films if they haven't? And I would say that for Alien, yes. I think Alien is iconic especially for what came after, not just the films, but the pop culture-ness of Alien and the creature and all that. So I think Alien is worth watching for sure if you haven't seen it. And probably most of the franchise. In fact, I do want to also go back. It's been so many years since I've seen Aliens or Alien 3. I do want to go watch those. And I never saw the recent ones.
Yeah.
And maybe I will watch them. As for it, I would say it is kind of skippable unless you really are interested in, the history of film or black and white. I would say it is okay for you to skip it. If you skip that film because you do not have time to watch everything, you're not missing. There is not some great cultural big thing you're missing.
Right.
And while yes, Alien is directly inspired by it, I don't think you're going to miss anything if you never see it.
Very good. And I'll say one thing. Dan O'Banion was asked, the script writer and story creator of Alien, if he stole from it, The Terror from Beyond Space, and his reply was, no, I stole from everybody. So there's a lot of different monster movies and horror films that he chose the tension level. So yes,
but that it was clearly related. But again, not so much that you should just see it on its own. Yeah. You don't need to.
And what you just said about being a pop culture thing, it's like this is the Jaws of horror science fiction films. Jaws set a level of violence that we had not seen in those types of films, and became pop culture. And you're right about that, Adina. Brian and Chris, who wants to go next?
I can go. Yeah,
okay.
So I would say definitely watch Alien for sure. If you're someone like me and you're not a big horror person, I would say watch it during the day. Maybe if you're on a commute, watch it on the bus. And just, be okay with the fact that you might turn stuff down when you think there's a jump scare, because it's fine. You don't need to worry about what other people think. I'd say watch it, enjoy it. I would say for it, I'm more leaning on Adina's side, where I'd say you can skip it, maybe watch the trailer, maybe watch a couple of clips on YouTube, just to get a sense of it. But I think it's much harder to get into just because it is dated. They're using older film techniques, and there's a lot of sexism in there. So yeah, but I'd say Alien, just incredible, and I honestly can't wait to go finish Aliens and then go through all of those movies, all the Predator movies, because they do cross over. So yes. I'm very excited, and I'm curious to see when things get bad, because I know it's not all smooth sailing for Alien and that franchise.
I can tell you that when we were at the theater and we saw the movie Alien 3, my wife was very angry because of what happens to Ripley in it.
Okay.
It's not.
Is this the one that was disowned, or like?
I don't know.
I thought there was like the director of one of the movies felt like there was a lot that was missing from what they wanted, so they just don't consider it one of their films now.
It's Alien 3 is not only horrifying, but it's also quite depressing, as my wife would say, and I agree with her on that because of how they handle it, the beginning of the film and the end of the film. So.
Well, I just made a decision, folks, to just stick with this initial Alien film. I don't think I no longer have the need to watch the rest based off of what y'all just said.
Aliens is pretty fun though.
I agree with Chris. Aliens, it's like he took old Jimmy boy. He stole everything from Alien, only made it really cool. It's more of a militaristic film.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's I love Aliens, and I even
enjoy. So maybe at least watch Aliens.
I think so. And the director's cut is very good because they do add a lot of missing scenes that clarify how the alien gets to and blah blah blah. So anyway, yes. So,
gotcha. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little different take on whether or not to watch it, The Terror from Beyond. I think if you love black and white films and you're a sci-fi person, check it out. It's not that great, but it's got the cheese, it's got the cringeworthy stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you watch it kind of through that lens, and I think it's interesting enough. If again, and I want to clarify, if you love old black and white films, you've already got a level of cheese in those anyways. So if you're interested in something and you haven't seen it before, check it out, but your expectations should not be super high for it. It's not a classic as far as one of the all-time great sci-fi films ever.
Not like Forbidden Planet or something of that era, or
Right, yeah,
Stood
yeah.
Still, or sci-fi films of that level.
Yeah,
you know.
Forbidden Planet. I would say definitely watch that.
Watch
if
that.
you have a hard time
Over
watching
this.
black and white films, this isn't a good one to watch. There's
No.
other much
No.
better black and white films that would maybe get you interested in those than this one. So as far as aliens go, I was very pleasantly surprised at how quickly I was pulled into this film and wanted to watch. I expected, because of my workday, to break it up. I actually watched this far later. I watched it today. I thought I would get to watch it yesterday. I wasn't able to. I thought I was going to have to break the film up into segments to watch it today, but I found myself pretty captivated by this film, and I think that says something. And I think, again, there's some gory stuff in it, but I didn't find it gratuitous. So that's something that's positive. If you're that type of person like me, you hate the gratuitous, just way over the top, just to shock you type stuff. I think it has a purpose and it's part of the story. Music is fantastic. And also my final thought, I would actually like to ask you guys a question.
Sure.
And it's what has 5 toes, but it's not your foot?
What has 5 toes and is not your?
It's my foot.
Ah.
Hey.
Oh my gosh.
And with that, I leave Steve to have our final comments.
My final comments is this. 1960 Stevie Merkin, watching this movie, absolutely loved it. That is it, The Terror from Beyond Space, because it was the right level of scare that you could get at that time in science fiction films. You do have the Roger Corman horror films. Most of them had cheesy monsters and whatever. This one, there was actually a story about dealing with a creature on board and how you're going to defeat it or die. As far as Alien goes, it is groundbreaking. It's the Rocky. It's the Jaws. It's a groundbreaking film. And the way they marketed it was a simple statement. In space, no one can hear you scream. And when you saw those posters of just the egg and that statement, you said, I got to see this movie. And that's what got me in to go see the movie. And it was, when I saw it in the theater, as I said, I screamed like a little girl. It was terrifying because other than that, you had pretty, easygoing science fiction films of that time that were more thoughtful about Andromeda Strain or Silent Running or Omega Man or things like that. And then you had this movie come out. At the same time, a very peaceful film like Star Trek, the motion picture, comes out. And you had this as a contrast to it. So, yeah. And you're right. Alien spawned a lot of different films, including the most recent Alien Prometheus that came.
Yeah, was it Prometheus or Romulus? I know
Romulus.
Yeah.
Prometheus was a terrible one.
I heard people did not like Prometheus.
Oh, horrible film. And Alien 4 also not very good. But you also mentioned about the crossover, Chris. Yes, in the movie Predator, when they go to the campsite of the Predator, they do find a skull.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. When I saw
there's a skull with the alien in it. So yeah, there's a whole, and there's going to be a whole new series on Hulu this summer.
Oh,
an
cool.
Alien TV series. So it's It's got legs, kid. It's got legs. So
And also, Brian, Aliens is composed by James Horner of Wrath of Khan and Search for Spock fame. So it's another reason to check it out.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And the
cool. I was like,
music-
oh, James Horner and Jerry Goldsmith? Woo.
And boy, oh boy, I mean, the music in Aliens, it heightens the tension of that film as well. So I guess with that, folks, I'm going to say, and there you have it, the fair and logical consideration of two similar yet different films. It might be considered the grandpa of Alien, and that was my opinion when I had seen Alien back in 1979. That is the luxury of age. Alien scriptwriter Dan O'Bannon, as I said, he just stole from everybody to make this film. And to be honest, as I said, Dallas when the monster gets him, that's one of the greatest boos of all filmdom. But tell us, folks, what did you think of these two films? And I hope you can take time to rent them both. They're both on Prime Video. And let us know your thoughts about these two films and share them on Facebook or Instagram, or send us your thoughts to the Big Sci-Fi Podcast at gmail.com. And as always, we ask that you like and subscribe and share these audio releases. Your kind thoughts and reviews help to promote our podcast and make it more accessible to others. We're actually doing pretty good, right, Brian, in the picking orders of science fiction podcasts. Above all, get your tickets to Trek Long Island from May the 30th through June the 1st and visit us at the table. We'll have some cool stickers and magnets, pins, and other stuff. But above all, we get to meet you. And thank you for being a listener of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. And always, I leave you with these parting thoughts. Keep watching the skies and live long and prosper.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Big Sci-Fi Podcast. If you're having fun and enjoying the podcast, we ask that you would share the love by liking, following, subscribing, rating, and writing a review for us. That helps get our podcast in front of more potential listeners. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Once again, we're a part of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network, and you can find our podcast along with other fantastic podcasts by visiting trekgeeks.com. Coconut.